Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon, and today we're going to be coaching a Zoe player. So I coached them a couple months ago. They were a Diamond Peak, and then they since have gotten to Master 2 and made a lot of improvements in their gameplay. And then in this game, we're going to be focusing mostly on enemy laner power spikes and understanding what power spikes to trade on, and then also understanding roaming decision making and kind of where to be on the map in certain different times of the game. So if you guys are interested in getting coached from a rank 5 sovereign autofill player like myself, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server. It's just $15 for an hour of coaching, basically going over 2 replays and then writing out some notes at the end. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Cool. All
And
right.
so one of these is a good game, I thought, that I played well. And this, I think this is the
This one.
ASOL game is the good game. This one
Gotcha.
was the whole team gets curb stopped by Akali.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I wanted to see where, could do
Or you
some
could have gone
improvements.
different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you feel like
just
there's
try to
any
like
common?
figure
Yeah,
out
go
where
ahead.
I can carry.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's any common kind of things you have trouble with? Like if it's like roaming or lane phase or like any specific part of the game you've been struggling with or not like really?
Not ever since we had our call, I tend to be on the higher side, if not leading in gold most every game.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better at Zoe. So I feel really comfortable on her, and I feel really comfortable against melee champs for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Positioning in team fights and putting out more damage in the right moments, I feel like is what I need to get better at now. I
Yeah.
feel good. I feel good mid. I feel good last hitting. I feel good roaming, and I know there's definitely going to be improvements, in all those phases. But that's where I feel confident at.
I mean, I like
Um,
it's pretty rare I look at something and I straight up think like I wouldn't have done anything differently, but you literally just every single thing you've done in this lane so far is like perfect. Like you autoed at the perfect times to take away bone plating, you're like being aggressive at the right time, your wave management's fine. This is the first
mhm,
thing that's maybe a little scary is walking into Shroud. Because we need to understand basically like lane power spikes. So the way that you pressured up until level 2 is extremely good because
mhm,
Akali is really weak until level 2. She's not very strong, obviously. You kind of have to understand the different power spike depending on whatever the melee champion is. Like Akali's level 2, champions
mhm,
like Kassadin don't really get strong. Even on level 3, they're okay, and then it's not really till level 5. So it depends on the melee champion specifically, similar to like Yone on level 3 is scary, that type of thing. And so we should have understood a bit better that
yeah.
basically her goal is she hits level 2 and then she pressures you with Shroud, and you should respect it a bit more. Because then as soon
Okay.
as that Shroud cooldown is gone, even if say you like miss a last hit and you just get the XP from it, you start just messing with her really hard and it's really good for you. But
Okay.
if she's able to get her W trade like she does here with you and gets you, even a little lower than you've gotten her, basically what ends up happening is now you don't have that like
Yeah.
ability to be
It
aggressive, and
gets
if she
itself.
freezes on you, she could kill you. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
But
Yeah,
everything up
definitely
until here is definitely
knowing
very good. What's up?
because I know the overall matchup of most champions that I'm going to play against.
Yeah.
Knowing the little things about each champion is where I definitely have a weakness. Like knowing her level 2 is going to be her power spike at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's
Knowing,
definitely just an experience thing, like understanding what
yeah,
abilities feel the most scary. Like obviously when you're playing against Akali, you can kind of tell like the Shroud is really the scary thing, and so
yeah,
it's like even when she uses her Shroud here, pushing really hard is good, and then kind of respecting once she does have her Shroud. And ideally you get a level diff when she does have her Shroud, or you're able to reveal her like with your bubble or with the Ignite, like you did reveal her with
mhm,
Ignite one time, which I thought was nice. I don't see a lot of people do that either. So that's a good thing. And then here your goal should be just to recall as soon as you get this minion. Like you shouldn't really be overstaying here.
oh, let's
And
see
it
if I
looks like
do
we
that.
do, so this is good.
No. What
Um,
this is why I shared this one.
yeah,
Um, because I was planning on it,
yeah,
and then she was so low, I got aggressive, and I
yeah.
just started. I was catching the last hits and tried to kill her.
And so this is a situation we're going to be in sometimes. And so ideally, yes, you do crash this wave because you have a big wave. You're going to lose minions. It sucks if we do that. So the thing is, yes, the earlier decisions we made, again, about the like specific levels, if we'd played that better, then we're going to be strong enough where
Mhm,
we can crash this wave. But because we're in this situation, and sometimes you're going to be in this situation because of mistakes, other times just because it's how the matchup goes. And when you're in this situation, what you need to understand is you're giving some stuff up to have a strength later that matters more. So
mhm,
if she stays here, then she's fucked because you get back on better items, better health, and you're
mhm,
gonna just kill her or have pressure. If she recalls, you lose out on maybe an additional minion or two because your wave's not in a great spot. But
mhm,
you get back before her because you're recalling now. She hasn't recalled yet. So then you can crash that wave under the tower, giving you level 5, allowing you to then roam. So
mhm,
if you stay here, you're all inable, and we don't know where jungle is. So say jungle came, then you're also fucked, right? So does that
mhm.
kind of make sense why recalling just does make sense here?
Yep, and it does make sense, absolutely. I kept seeing her at, like, one shot HP, and I went, "No, I can get her." No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can get her.
So that makes sense. I mean, it's definitely like
I burned a flash. I burned a
yeah.
flash Q,
I mean, I don't even
but
mind like trying to go for the solo kills, not the end of the world. The problem is it's risky because you're at the mercy of jungle again, and because you're also low mana and low health. So yes, if you were higher health, higher mana, had these resources, it'd be fine. Even here, you need to recall again because you
I
don't
know.
actually lose out on
Yep.
much. She doesn't have good wave clear. She's not going to insta clear it. And again, we lose out on 1 or 2 minions early to give ourselves an
Yeah.
advantage for then the roam angle afterwards, and you're going to gain back that advantage. But if you end up
Hmm.
staying around here, you're relying on her kind of messing up or getting kind of sort of lucky because you do get her low
Hmm.
and you have the advantage. But like what happens a lot with solo queue, and especially once you get to be a bit higher, is if you do these volatile plays where you're fighting on low mana, half HP constantly, like you are, and then staying in lane, overstaying,
Hmm.
half the time it works out for you and you kill her. The other half the time, either a jungle shows up or you
Just
make one mistake and then you die. So it's
yeah.
just
Give it
a
about 2 seconds here.
yeah, exactly. And this is again because you didn't recall properly.
Yep.
Even like there were 3 different angles you could recall. The first angle was the best time was when the wave was fucked here. You level 4 could recall there as we said. Second time was level 5 when she didn't have quick enough wave clear when wave was even and just got there. You had enough time there. And then
Yeah.
the other time was here when she'd recalled. Because even then here, if you'd just recalled when the wave was like this, you're
Hmm.
still even. You get back pretty much like she's not going to clear the wave again. It's like almost no champion has that good of wave clear pre-level 5. I would say Echo is going to be one of the few champions who can clear a wave really, really fast. And even him, you could still recall at like this point if you were into an Echo. So yeah, those 3 recall timers, find any one of them, ideally the first one. That's going to
Yeah.
probably just be the first main thing to
And
understand.
I would say I've been really good about that.
Yeah,
And this is one of those games where I got caught in that situation. I got a little too greedy. But that's one of the things that's helped me a lot is getting out of there at level 5 with my boots and
yeah, yeah.
getting back stronger than the opponent. That was because you mentioned that the first time, and that was really
Yeah, I
helpful.
remember. That's definitely something I mention frequently. And so yeah, it's something that is good that we realize and that we do it usually, and then we see sometimes we do get punished.
And
And Akali is one of the best champions at punishing this because her spike is on level 5 and level 2. Really good at like punishing these times because a lot of times those are when you're going to want to recall. It's like level 4 or 5. So if you don't, then yeah, you get punished by it, especially on any of these assassins who have good all-in, especially. Because if it's a champion like, I don't know, like an early game Orianna, you're not going to be nearly as scared of her one-shotting you, but with Akali it is. So yeah, that's the main thing, which you already do know, just weren't paying attention in that specific scenario. Understanding specific matchups better, which comes down partially to just testing like critical thinking, what abilities are the most scary of this champion, when do they upgrade those abilities, when do they actually have all in angles, which the more you play Zoe and you play the champion a lot, so you kind of realize like the certain angles. So understanding that and then managing your wave around that and pressuring on the levels that aren't like as scary of the
yeah,
champion, like we said, level 1 for Akali or after she uses Shroud, and kind of respecting that a bit more.
yeah,
So yeah, those are kind of the main things. But yeah, overall the lane phase, like I said, the first level you pressured completely perfectly. Like I wouldn't have even clicked a button different than how you clicked it. And then it came to
okay.
that one mistake, and that's pretty much it. So
And so for the rest of this game, kind of how it goes is I kind of realized the Akali is good,
yeah,
and I respected her a lot, and I felt like I wasn't. I didn't end up feeding, even though I gave up the kill, the first death, and I
yeah.
tried to just be a little bit more respectful of her and
So
how good I thought she was at the beginning.
yeah, so the first thing is I don't want you to change your gameplay based on the skill of your opponent for the most part. Because
Okay.
I used to do this, like I would play against starting Lamont, whoever, I'd see their name and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hope my team carries me because at that point I was a lower rank than them. So it's like
Hmm.
I might have better teammates because they're higher ranked. That's outright. So that would be my goal. But as I realized, like they know how to take advantage of that. Better players actually prefer you to be a little bitch because then they can just permanently roam because they can,
Yep.
just shove you in whatever and abuse that anyways. And so they know how to abuse that. But if you do what you think you should do, you're going to get punished by the better player initially, but then you can figure out what it was that went wrong, and then you're going to improve in the long run. So it makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
when you're against someone you think is good to actually do exactly the same thing you would always do, because then either
Okay.
it turns out you're right or it turns out you're wrong, and then you figure it out for the future. So that's the first
Okay.
thing. The second thing is, once again, we're punished by recall timers. So this game specifically, and again, even if you know things, we make mistakes. Like I still obviously make mistakes that I know are wrong, but multiple times we've seen recall timers have been a big issue for you, and that's why I kind of started going back, because you were low mana at this fight that we get to in 20 seconds, which meant you weren't really able to do much, and you were down a level to Akali once the fight started. She's level 8 at that time. And
Hmm.
yeah, you had a recall timer here. Again, there's no actual reason for you to be at this wave right now. No one's pressuring it, so it's not like it's going to die under your tower right away. There's a couple of minions left, so it's not going to just insta push. and you're low mana, low health with 20 seconds left until a dragon. So either you go to this wave, clear it, and then recall, and then go dragon. But in that case, it's going to take a pretty long time. You're probably not going to get there till like the dragon spawns. Or you recall, go wave, go dragon, and you're going to have about 10 to 15 seconds, probably 10 to 5 seconds to set up before it actually spawns. And so we need to be aware, again, there's these certain timers where you can give up gold because you're doing a good job of being focused on gold on the wave, playing around that. But there's certain timers, which are, again, the recall timer we spoke about earlier. And then again, whenever an objective is spawning, where you can give up 1 or 2 minions to then in the long run actually set yourself up better because you're going to have better health and mana on waves that matter more. Because again, getting level 5, once you get that, that gives you an angle to roam. So that level, being strong on that level is more important than being strong on level 4 because then you're going to have to recall anyways.
Yeah.
Or again, being strong right now, having control of the wave on this wave doesn't matter. What matters is control of this wave you can see right here, which is why recalling first makes more sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is good because I need to know when I need to stop focusing gold so much and do something like that recall for an item set up for a fight, and when I'm being too passive. Because I do usually have the lower end of the deaths in a game. By nature of the champion, one, but by nature of I understand that if I die, I'm not getting gold. So when I'm being too passive and when I'm focusing too much on gold, those are two good things to know.
Yeah. And yeah, we can see here, you also kind of, because of the fact that you were weaker, you get pushed back in your lane, and then you're in kind of a rough spot. And again, she's up a level because she had control over the waves, and generally just got a couple more minions. And so everything with how you play the fight's fine. You're positioning fine. You're just playing your champion like you're supposed to, pretty straightforward. So it really just comes to the setup, and even with not the greatest setup, you still end up having not a bad result. So
okay,
I guess we can look, but I assume it's just pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think I just got past these two and went back.
Yeah, it was a little greedy, I suppose. Which, I mean, if we're looking at the fight, right, again, one thing is the fact that you have no mana, which makes it harder. But thinking about specific spells is kind of important when we're thinking about targeting as well, because these are both full health tank/bruiser champions.
This wasn't me trying to kill them.
What's it? So what is the goal here?
Get back to lane.
Oh, you literally.
But I know I can go through them because that dash is Zoe's ability. It's not my actual dash, so it's going to go away in 20 seconds anyway. So
okay, so your goal is literally just get back to Fair enough then.
But I probably could have went over to top lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. That makes
and gotten
sense.
back there. It could have been quicker, I guess.
Oh yeah, I think that's fine. You're right, for sure. And then yeah, at this point in the game, so this is kind of where it shifts again back to gold. So the timer kind of goes like, first couple minutes, gold, recall on usually mana boots level 5 or level 4 or level 5, depending on when we find a good recall timer whenever we're hitting mana boots. Then again, control over the waves, get gold until 30 seconds before objective. Then objective fight happens, and now we go back to focusing mainly on gold in whatever way we can. So following a fight like this, for example, is perfectly good. Focusing on the wave, like all the things that you're probably going to do relatively well. I assume, so I kind of, you control the wave. You could find a recall timer here again, where it's like you're kind of low health. There's no real reason. Like, you spend a lot of time really low mana and not super high health, walking around kind of not doing much. Where here, again, the wave's not going to come for 10 seconds because it's only at your tier 2 right now. So you have a 10-second window where you recall, you're not going to lose out on any gold. So there's definitely a lot more recalling that we could be doing rather than, like, obviously say that you saw someone here low health. Okay, sure, but you see full health with a Jinx and a Braum, like that's not really killable, right? And your support's not even there. And your support's a Seraphine. It's not like it's like a Thresh or something.
Okay.
So. And then, you can see how now here you're relatively susceptible on this wave. Like, let's say this Akali was going cleanse, which she's not, but a lot of Akalis would go cleanse in these types of matchups. She could literally just dive you 100 to 0 here pretty much, or if she'd bought a QSS for whatever reason. I'm not saying she would buy a QSS necessarily, but people do weird things. And so there's just a lot of kind of positions you put yourself in that are rather rough. And then you also do end up losing this turret, and it's partially because you didn't have the pressure up quick enough where it's just going to pressure you harder. Like, because again, these minions shouldn't have even been touching your turret. And again, this is a hindsight thing, but it is still something that wouldn't have happened. Where if these minions weren't hitting your turret because you had control over it quicker because you recalled and you weren't so scared, then we're in a better spot. But because we're low mana and not full health, we have to be a lot more scared. So, and then it also means that she gets to roam first because she gets control of the wave for the same reason. So then at this point, what you should do when you realize she's roamed normally is get on the next wave, push this wave, and then create your own roam timer, because then she's gonna have to go back on this wave. And now, because you already cleared this wave, whereas she's clearing it right now, you get to go bot now. So that's how you respond a lot of times to that. But the problem is you have no mana for the reason we spoke about. So you can't do that. But if you did have proper mana, instead you're responding with no mana. So nice, you can land one combo and then you're fucking useless again. So we can kind of see how we are consistently putting ourselves in negative spots for that reason. Also, even if you're in base here, like even if you're right here, recalling is faster because it gives you more mana if you recall.
Okay.
And you get more health quicker. That's a really small thing. It really doesn't matter, but walking is
What
like
is
slightly.
what's the breakpoint that is slower? Is it
I
the
don't have like the specific
concrete? Do you
math. Like
know?
I even might technically be wrong there because I haven't ever like done the math because it's not a
I've
big
been
enough
wondering
deal
what
to
that
test it.
breakpoint is because I went
Yeah,
and test like timed minion waves and things like that just to get a better idea of
yeah,
the recall timer. And it's like 15 seconds. You can recall and get back before a minion dies.
yeah.
Um, I've wondered that what the breakpoint for that recall
Yeah.
versus walking back is.
No, I've never tested a specific breakpoint, so I could be telling you wrong information, but it feels faster to me, and it's something to know that at least that it is that you get mana quicker. But in terms of
Gotcha.
the specific thing, not entirely sure. Um, the other thing to understand when you're in a game where the mid laner is a champion that's really scary to you, like in terms of walking up, even you've lost your health,
Mhm.
your turret, and you're kind of in a not great spot. Sometimes you can skip this initial wave that's reaching and look for a quick roam. The reason you can do this is because your
Uh,
turret isn't here, so the minions have longer before they die, right? Like to the
and
turret.
she's gonna clear it,
Yeah. So you can wait for
so you
her to
just let her
clear
clear
it,
it.
and then once she clears it, then you can just go clear it
Uh,
safer because like either you guys are just it's equal, like nobody's getting anything from the wave if she leaves it, or if she gets it and
yeah,
then you can just respond after. So then
that
that's
makes
the
sense.
time where you can create an advantage when you're behind. When you're ahead, you don't want to do that obviously because you have control. But if you're behind you and you're scared, then you can do that, and then you have a possibility to get some type of lead here. And then the other thing is, I want you setting up for this bottom lane turret because we're down a lot of gold. We're probably not going to win a fight, and Dragon is spawning in about 45 seconds, as we're going to see in a second. And so I want you setting up for this bottom lane play to try to come
Okay.
back rather than fighting around. Um, and also you can kind of see here the Camille and Lee were fighting. It's entirely possible if you're there that you get the
Could have
kill.
been
Maybe
there.
not, but it's possible. And so yeah, I want you recalling after this wave and then setting up for a bottom lane play. Um,
Hey, I went back.
yeah, but instead we end up
Cool.
going
But I
and
went top.
yeah, you see how we go Dragon, and your teammates made the correct play, but you see you're trying to 3v5 them now. Whereas if you're with these guys, you're probably getting a tier 2 realistically. Because like let's say, and people tell me a lot when I tell them to do this, but then my teammates go and fight anyways. And so what would have
Mhm.
happened here if say your two teammates did go and fight and die for no reason is that you would know that everyone's top side and then you get to make a play bot side. And now let's say you get noticed by one person, they go bot side, you're 3v1, you can dive them, you get an advantage anyway. So even if yes, your teammates sometimes will fuck up, we don't need to follow because then you're just going to die here or at least not get anything really out of it. So
Okay.
it'd be making more sense to follow your team on bot side. It looks like you're at least going to get out, but if the enemy did it properly, you guys definitely would get punished harder. So, and even then, your two teammates still died as well, and you're kind of encouraging that fight because you're there with them. So basically, the gist of it is, if we're behind a significant amount, we know we're not going to win a fight on even numbers. Try to make a play on the opposite side of the map, unless that
Okay.
objective is extremely important. So in Elder, a Baron, or Soul, basically.
Mhm. I've heard you say second dragon's usually the most useless objective to get, and that's
Yeah.
when you can split push. I think I heard you say that just the past couple days.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
makes
It's
sense.
pretty much an objective. It's a snowballing objective. Like it's like the purpose of it is just encourage a fight when you want to fight. So if you are ahead, then you go there because you know usually people are going to go and you get a free fight. But if everyone played the game perfectly, the reality is whichever team knows that they're going to win the fight. So unless it was a really really close game, there's going to be a team who probably knows they'd win that fight. That team gets the dragon. The rest of the other enemy just try to make a play somewhere else. But obviously solo queue
Okay.
is a bit more random. So. And then it looks like at this point, we're kind of just, in a relatively tough spot. There's probably not a lot to do. You're pretty much just going to be hovering Baron and hoping your team steals. Because this is the other thing. How we're speaking about key timers, objectives, that type of thing. One key timer is the Baron spawn, which is at 12 minutes. And yeah, here I don't really have a problem with how
Mhm.
you play it. You get ulted
Can
on.
go a lot with diamond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not much to do there. And so yeah, at this point, the game is most likely over. So main issues with the game. Early game, understanding power spike a bit better so that we're pressuring harder on Akali's weak points and then giving her a bit more respect until she uses those key abilities that we care about. Even if it means potentially losing out on last hits, as long as we're getting XP, we're usually fine with that. We can greed a little for XP if we're not like in solo kill range, but we don't need to greed for every last hit on those certain spikes because then you can take advantage of your own spikes. And then if she greeds, then you create
Mhm.
a long-term advantage. And then the recall timers, which again, we know it's the mana boot stuff, but we need to understand if we're low health, low mana in a solo killable killable position, especially if our jungle's not, around, or if the enemy has good all-in like Akali does. We can be a bit more respectful, give up a minion or two. It's probably not going to lose us the game, and then it means that we get back on the lane before her, stronger than her, with better items and health and mana, so then we can still get that advantage in the long run, even if it feels bad to give it up initially. Understanding the certain recall timers, like 30 seconds before objective, especially if we're low mana or low health. If you're strong, you're high health, high mana, you can stay up, but if you're not, then you're going to need to do that. And then comeback timers like second Drake, going on the opposite side when we're behind, rather than trying to fight it straight up, giving up a potential wave in mid. If you've already lost your tier 1 or your tier 3 turret, whatever, like, the front turret, if you've already lost that, you can give that up and go roam until someone responds there if you need to. Those are probably the main things from this game. Any like other things or questions or anything?
No, I think that's a good assessment. I think do you think, I guess, because that Akali kind of was able to roam, and I think she pulled out most of her stuff from the other lanes throughout the game.
Yeah.
Do you think if I was able to recall and get back to lane and put it more of an even fight there, level 5 and 6, that would have stopped or given her a harder time of getting out and able to roam as quickly?
Yeah, so what it would have done is it would have made it impossible for her to roam without losing stuff. So then she would actually have to be, like, if your wave was in a better spot because you got in there, you're pressuring it to the point where if she leaves, you're probably going to get like 2 plates, or you're going to match her roam. You probably don't want to match her roam because she's going to just camp you. Like, she'll go in the bush, right? So you're probably just going to be pressuring by getting plates. And then that means that you're going to keep your gold a lot more even. And then it's really risky for her because if her roam doesn't work out, she's really far behind. And if it does work out, you're relatively even. And then you're also creating those counter roam timers, like I said, where if you'd done that one proper recall when there were 4 people topside, if you'd pushed the additional wave that was coming because she wasted a bit too much time here, then you get that roam bot side. So now maybe she does get the advantage to her top side, but then you get the exact same roam except it's on bottom side. And so if you win that roam, as in you get a successful roam, it's either, you're creating equal opportunities. So ideally your roam works out and hers doesn't, but even if both don't work out or both do work out, it's just more likely that you're going to be closer to in gold. I would say most likely with how the early game went, you would have been behind a bit regardless. So it's more about squeezing out a little bit of a better lead through doing that stuff. But realistically, gold-wise, I would say if you do all those things, minimum the gold gap would have been closed by an additional 1,000, which would make you a lot stronger for that play on opposite side of Dragon, as we spoke about. And then that's where the game could potentially really break open, where it turns around from you being in a shit spot to you being like a better spot.
Okay, cool.
And then this guy, you're NA, right?
Yeah.
Because I recognize this Acel.
So
he's the one you said was like
he
93
was
marks.
Challenger 93 marks, and they only had one master, and it was their Caitlyn, and I'm in Master 2.
Yeah.
But I was on a good little run. So I think I just got put a little bit higher of a matchmaking queue, which is fine. But I was punished for things that I wasn't expecting to be punished for, like this. He was good at the beginning.
This is the exact same mistake you made against Akali, is not understanding power spikes, because Acel literally beats Jace level 1, which is like, Jace is a god tier level 1 shit. I found that out because I obviously play a lot of Jace, and so I was like, holy fuck, I can't even all in him. So yeah, you can never try, like, you don't play around Bush's level 1 at all into an Acel, and that's basically the thing I usually tell people. So you're going for this ward, for example. I'm fine for going for this ward, but if you'll notice, if you watch my gameplay, I don't go for this word if I'm playing basically any AP champion because they're mostly weaker early game. But I do go for this word level 1 on Jace because I want to create all-ins level 1. So if your goal is to create an all-in level 1, you can do this. But the problem with this is, one, jungle could show up. You never really know, so that's risky. And then again, you're also weaker early game than him, so you don't want this. What you want is to trade in waves, because Acel struggles with poke and trading in waves. He's really good with just obviously breathing the fire on you for a very long time.
So this kind of stuff is what I've noticed as I've climbed, is that I'll start getting punished for things that I wasn't punished for, a couple days ago as I go up. And because Zoe is able to bully pretty well level 1 and 2, I tend to play rather aggressive level 1 and 2. And sometimes, it obviously bites me in the butt.
Well, and it's a good thing. Anytime that you don't know whether or not you win level 1, you should try to kill yourself. Like you should literally go as aggressive as
I've,
possible,
I've
and
been doing a
then
good job of that then.
yeah, exactly. And so then you
Yeah.
realize it. Like again, that's how I learned as Jace and Asol. I would never actually know who wins it because for Jace and Asol, it's closer because Jace is really, really good level 1. Or for example,
Mhm.
Jace versus Zoe, I figured out that I can
Yeah.
basically win by one
Yeah.
auto attack.
I
Yeah,
hate going against Jaces, especially good ones, because their range is equivalent,
yeah, it's a
which is not
very
the
like
most
volatile
common thing.
matchup and it's very aggressive, and that's why like I found out, yeah, these certain angles, it's like if I can find the all-in level 1, I get the advantage, but it's super, super
Hmm.
close, and like all these different types of things, like I have to ignite early because I need my entire ignite damage to go off, or else if I get
See,
ignited early and I don't ignite until the end, I'm gonna die. And it's like
yeah.
all these little things that if you don't know them, I want you to try, but I
Hmm.
don't want you to try and then die and then try the next game as well. Like you have to
Yeah.
keep these types of things in your mind, and so that's the main thing, and that's how you're gonna learn these certain power spikes. And so again, I want you to try to think to yourself, when is a certain champion strong and weak, like Akali? You could test, can I fight Akali level 2 if I get a little bit of a poke lead? And then you realize after, say, last game, no, I can't. And then you're like understanding these different types of things. Then you're fine. But I like this. This is the mistake you made last game, but this time you're doing the proper thing, which
Hmm.
is recall on this timer. And that's probably because you were higher or you were lower relative to Asol, whereas Akali was also
The
low.
Akali wasn't really baiting me. There was no like, oh, I could probably get a kill.
On the
That's the
Asol,
only
yeah.
thing that took me out last time. Usually, I feel pretty confident about getting back real quick
Yeah, that
because
makes
you can
sense.
feel that power spike coming back, especially as Zoe. You don't need many items to really uh, start tapping people.
Yeah. And then so here you're creating a good robot opportunity. The main thing I'll say is we need to understand the actual like potential of roaming or what looks more feasible. So our jungler's not here. So the first thing is we
Hmm.
want to, if we can roam with our jungle, not every time. Sometimes you see an angle to not, but or to roam like without him. But if we can, we roam with jungle. And then
Hmm.
we look at the actual wave state. So this is the second time where you assessed or you saw a lane state that you could possibly roam because you had a timer to roam, but the wave wasn't it wasn't possibly gankable. Like again, your teammates are nowhere nearby. Everyone in the enemy is full health. They have decent peel, and you have no indication that they have no flash. They do have flashes. You
Okay.
don't know for sure, but you haven't seen it ping. I assume that your teammates didn't lie to you. Maybe I don't know. I mean, we're playing well
I'm not
enough to
that
be
aware
fair.
yet, anyway.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
like we don't have any real reason to think this gank is going to work out, and so we don't need to necessarily walk that far. You can
Okay.
start like
So right
hovering
here,
if you.
you would stop and go back.
I don't mind you like hovering, but then you see Graves, you should immediately run back. Like I don't know. I think you were looking. You must have been
I was
looking at the
already
lane.
looking. I was already looking. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
And
is
so I
like
didn't
a
notice him come in.
yeah, you get confused. That's kind of like that happens. But yeah, essentially what I would be doing is I'm fine with you even hovering the lane. But if we're looking at the wave states, I'm thinking this looks more gankable because I have a champion with good gank setup and ultimate and high
Mhm.
health advantage. Like Darius is actually pretty low, right? Darius has no
Okay.
flash, which I'm not saying you know that for sure. But either way, you see low health. You see a health advantage on your laner. You see
Okay.
actual fighting and people in the lane, and you see gank setup from Orin ultimate plus third ability. No reason to not go that way, right? So
So you would say mini map awareness and understanding the states of other lanes would probably be the
yeah,
focus for
yeah.
this in
And
this
so the main
situation.
things
Okay.
you're going to look for when you're deciding on your roam is obviously health, right? Is going to be the first thing. Then location of wave and people. So again, in that case, your laners were here and the wave was being pushed by the opponent, and so a normal person's going to push that wave and then leave, most likely,
Hmm.
right? And so you have, and then whereas this wave was melee champions fighting on a wave with better gank setup as well, which is the other thing you're looking at: health, laner's position, gank setup from the people. And then jungle location, if our jungle's
Okay.
there. And so again, it's going to all depend on all those factors. Sometimes all of them are present, in which case we're definitely going to gank. Sometimes only a couple are, in which case kind of just up to you in this specific game to determine whether or not you want to go.
Okay.
And so yeah, here, like for example, even just making a little play with our jungle, like that's what I like. And then we just get on the wave and then we try to leave. Like we don't, again, we kind of should realize at this point, we're not going to kill him in lane. So we're fine with just
Hmm.
creating a roam
Definitely.
opportunity. And
Yeah.
so like this is where, yeah, of course we see here, we created a roam opportunity and then they're like fucking inside of our asshole. Of course we're going to try to look to gank them when they're this low and everything like that. So that's the type of thing to look for. And I guess, yeah, we end up still kill. Oh, that's first blood. Nobody dying for 4.5 minutes. It's
This
pretty
game is
rare.
a low kill game,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, it was a low kill game, and I felt like I did really well this game. So that's why I wanted to look at it because I know there's spots where you just see guys like you get matched against guys, and they're just different, right? They
Yeah.
carry every single game that they're in, especially at my level. And that's kind of what I want to see is like, okay, where could I have done better? Because this is a game I feel like I did good.
Yeah, and
but I know
so
there's spots to get better at.
So there is the power spike thing, which obviously was the level 1 thing. The second was the roaming timers, where again, since you're in an advantageous spot in your lane, you're creating roaming timers. We need to now understand how to assess a roam properly, which, like we said, we already talked about that part. And then this thing here is once you're actually doing your roam, you know what's the problem here? Like after this roam?
Should have just straight up recalled.
Yeah, exactly. And then we go mid. It's the same thing as even the mistake we saw again. We're 15 seconds. Now we're going back to lane. So now either we go to lane, then still not full health, not full mana, and then we fight a dragon not full health, not full mana, without our gold spent because you just got a first blood as well. So you got gold from that. Or we recall, and then we go straight. It's just quicker and it's just more effective. A lot of times it's not going to matter because nobody's contesting anything. But again, now you're at this thing fighting weaker than you could be. And I hope someone lives on 1 HP so then you can feel the pain of the fact that you could have recalled and not. But no, they don't. So yeah, nothing really would have changed in this situation. But in general, it's still something that's important. Yeah, again, looking for the roam with our jungle. This is, again, like the reason that this makes a lot of sense to look for, and again, I don't think it's actually going to work out now, but is nobody's like full health. Like their Kate's even half health, Melio's nearly half health. The wave is pushing. So when there's a wave that's pushing, like your teammates have a wave pushing, that means there's a possible dive angle because the wave will tank, right? And so you're going to have a 4v2, potentially 4v3, could become 4v4 eventually, but you're roaming first, right? You're going to see Graves in a second, but like for now we think that. And then we're going to look here because we have a roam angle and a dive angle. So like that's the type of thing where this is where you really blow up in a game. Again, in this case, it turns out your Ambessa doesn't want to do it right away. And so what you should immediately realize is Ambessa doesn't want to gank on this wave. Like you should realize this right now. There was an angle a second ago. Now it turns out they're recalling, the wave's under turret, nothing's happening. We go back now and we want control of this next wave because then maybe by that point, Ambessa has a red and Krugs. Maybe she clears red and Krugs and now she's ready to gank, right? But instead, because you're late, doing a scuttle and getting camped, which obviously you couldn't have known that part, but because you're late doing a scuttle, now this gank angle that Ambessa had is just impossible for you to help on because you didn't understand which timer it might make sense to gank on. So looking at both wave states and your jungler's camps are going to be important because then you would be in a much better spot to kind of follow up on this type of thing. But again, it still works out well, and it's not like these are like huge mistakes or anything, certainly. Holy shit, you're fast when you have the ghosts. Because
Asol was in a bush over here, I thought, but he got back.
Yeah.
I left him on one HP, so I was trying to get to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zoe's a little bolt of lightning when you hit the ghost.
Yeah. So the thing you could do here is you could recall and go bot side because your teammates were up there and already on the wave if you wanted.
Okay.
I don't mind sticking in mid, getting this wave, and then recalling after this wave, but we definitely want to look for a recall soon and not completely full health or mana and have some gold to spend, I believe, at this point. Or even if we just push the wave and roam, like I don't mind that either. I think it turns out that your Ornn comes, so I guess you can look. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Because again, we have the reason why, once again, you kind of have a decent roam angle here is, so you have a tank support as well. Tank supports are better for diving, right? And so the wave is already on the turret. Your tank support has good setup for Misfortune, who's about to have her ultimate as well. And your tank support nearly has his ultimate. And you'd have like a 15-second window to once again cover that. And your Ornn's already here, so if we really need, like, he can cover the wave. And there's no way you're just going to kill a turret through him. So again, what I'd realistically do is hover halfway through the wave, the river, and then probably end up going back mid most of the time. But there's the 1 in 5 games where you do have that angle. And when you do have that angle, it breaks open the game. Whereas we're not even kind of looking for that. So it's really just the timing of everything that you're doing. You're making fine plays, your mechanics are fine. It's just the timing of when we're doing what we want to do and being more intentional about those types of plans, which comes down to recall timings, pushing our wave to then rotate fully. Whereas maybe one time you push a wave and then you're like, so for example, on this wave, what should you do after this wave?
After this wave?
Yeah.
Top.
No, you should recall.
Recall top.
No. You should recall and go bot because dragon's spawning.
Recall bot because dragon spawning.
Yeah. If dragon wasn't spawning, then yeah, you could recall top and then go from top to mid because maybe you just wanted, like, let's say you were a minute 30 from dragon and you were 500 gold from Lichbane. Then yes, because that top's going to give you like 200-300 gold, and then you go mid wave, you get 1 wave, and then you can recall, and then you're going to be on this exact timer now, 45 seconds from then, recalling for Lichbane. So if you're planning, so that's another step of planning is a little bit before an objective for items. So that's a right. There's the items, planning for that. There's a planning for the certain waves or jungle camps, timing that to gank with our team. There's a timing of just general recalls for health and stuff like that, right? So does that kind of make sense?
Okay. Yeah, one thing you said is a good rule of thumb that I've been trying to follow pretty well is one item before each dragon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the first one's kind of hard to get to. You have to play pretty well to get that.
Well,
But
yeah,
the
that's
second
usually
and
going to be
third, you
boots and
can,
half an item, but yeah, after that,
yeah.
for sure.
So that's something I've been trying to keep too.
Yeah. And so here, I'm just thinking what makes it. So yeah, you see them fighting, you see your jungles on the side of the map, so you decide to get there really quick. 100% good decision to go at this point. Like once we're in, again, obviously we spoke about the other things we could have done earlier, but because we see this at the point we're in, I think it's 100% is the choice to make, and because of, again, the things we see. So, which is, again, many of our teammates, in this case, literally all of them, the wave being pushing low health bars, just pretty straightforward things. But a lot of people don't actually pay attention to that. We can see sometimes you're making roams again on like the full health stuff, but here it's perfect. And so yeah, you're definitely right about like a lot of the decisions and the ways you play this game is good, and into a relatively high elo player. So yeah.
He didn't die the whole game, which really I get greedy one time and try to kill him, but he played well.
Yeah, that's generally an ASOL, right? It's not going to be. It's either like you can dive onto him and you guys are really fed, or he just sits and breathes
So
fire.
rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
So right here, let's say I missed this. Here I am, pause it. I see we're not going to win this fight. There's two of them there. They're getting
Yeah, you could go
killed
mid
by
with
4 people
misfortune.
right now. This is a good time to. This fight probably isn't worth it. No objectives are up. Let's just bail out and either recall, move, push a lane, do something else.
Yeah, in this case, the mid
That
turret's
that would have
being
probably
pushed,
been
so
a
you could go there for
better
sure.
play
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Okay.
No, and it's, I mean, it's a good thing that you noticed that as well. Like that's not even something I was like specifically thinking of pointing out, but 100% is correct. Like yeah, going mid makes way more sense here, and then you get the gold from that. So yeah, it's a good thing to notice as well.
I
Or
do
even
it.
if
I
you
just
wanted
don't
to
do it
recall
as
and go
quickly.
topside. What's up?
I
Sorry.
feel like that's where I'm missing a lot of things. So I do it eventually. Like I don't continue that fight. That's not my. I don't do it as quickly as I think somebody at a higher level would. Like they
Yeah.
would recognize it a lot quicker. Like, oh, that's not a good fight. I'm getting out of here.
Well,
Whereas I try it a little bit and then I go do what I probably should have been doing.
this is the other thing too, is a very common mistake is not catching an additional wave. So again, most people were just bot side. They've just recalled. It's not like they're instantly all here, and there's not even an objective immediately. So you're not mega scared of like if you die, it's really whatever. And a wave is about to come here because your wave's right here, so they're gonna meet. And so there's no reason to not go an additional wave, 200 gold.
Okay.
And that 200 gold might give you item. It might not. In this case, obviously it wouldn't, but a lot of cases it might. And so just going for that additional wave after you catch a wave is usually the move. It's not the move when there's like an objective about a spawn, or if someone's right there, or your death could matter a lot because maybe, I mean, in this case you're 5-0, so maybe you're slightly more scared of that, but I'm still, again, we knew they weren't really there because of what we saw. So
yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I really haven't seen like mechanical mistakes in terms of like where you're positioning in fights or anything like that. It really is just pretty much purely the situations you put yourself in. It's never really what you do in that situation. So what do you play when you're when you're when Zoe's banned or picked or something? Which is probably rare.
Zoe's never banned.
That's true. That's true.
I think she's been picked once in the past 2 months against me. I'll play like a Nautilus. If it's a jungle, I'll play Nautilus. If it's top lane, I'll pick Renekton. If
Yeah.
it's mid, I usually honestly just go something kind of tanky. And
Makes sense.
yeah, because I don't have a ton of experience with a lot of other mid laners. This is the first mid laner I ever played.
Yeah.
This season. So I played Nautilus mid one time, but I know Zoe really well, so it was an easy matchup.
Well, I mean,
Because I knew
Doinb,
exactly what to
you
look
just want
out
to be
for
like
her.
Doinb. I mean, he won World Finals playing Nautilus mid, so yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
get it.
So it wasn't a troll pick. I did it because I was like, I know what Zoe's doing. She's not going to kill me if I build magic resist, and
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, Doinb's like a player who's famous for playing like tank and roaming mids and like weird mids like that.
That's funny.
And so yeah, he does stuff like that. And he like won World Finals in like
It's
2019.
funny you say that because like I've gotten Zoe every single game I've played.
Yeah.
This whole season,
I mean,
which
that
is
makes
kind of
sense.
why
It is
it's
not
nice.
very common. Unless you're playing against another one trick, otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much never. And it's not really a champ that people play unless they're one trick because it's like kind of hard. So it's kind of like awkward and a lot different. Like I think Zoe is extremely underrated. but
Me
it'd be
too.
really hard to learn because it's so different than like any other mid for the most part. So, and here is greed. It's not really anything to talk
That
about. I mean,
that was
of
that one
course,
time where I said I was trying to get him, and he
yeah.
yeah got a little greedy.
But you're still on 3 items at third drag, which is really good. So as long as we're doing that, I mean, we're mostly fine. Do you win this game?
hmm
Okay, I assumed you did.
I
Then
won this game, and I felt like I carried well enough. I
yeah,
just knew
definitely.
that there's little things that I do that I know. Like I get beat by some laners, I get curb stomped by some mid laners, and I go, what are they doing different than what I'm doing? Because I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I'm doing everything right. I think it's just the quickness of my decisions
Yeah,
is
definitely.
not
Which
is
comes
not there
into
yet.
kind of the things we spoke about in terms of like what we're
Yeah.
evaluating, which yeah, 100%. And then the power spike thing is big because you did get punished on both of the laners you laned against
Yeah.
on their strongest point in the lane. So that's
Knowing
something like,
specific champions and abilities for sure is
and
something I
that's
need
why
to
what
get
I want
better
you to do at the start of the game is pretty much to just think about 2 things, like 2 questions to ask yourself before the game starts, or like in loading screen, and that's
at.
where's the jungle going to path slash how dangerous is he? Like if it's a Nyla versus a Lee Sin, obviously we're a different level of scared. And then what
Mhm.
is the champion? Like what is my actual plan in the lane? Like what levels do I want to punish them on versus what levels do I need to be aware of certain abilities? That's definitely like the main 2 things I want you asking yourself before. So yeah, we'll just write notes. You see my
Okay.
notes?
Yes.
So, so first thing is, yeah, we'll just write the 2 questions. 2 questions to ask in loading screen. So 1, jungle pathing, and like early game strength, basically, right? Like how likely they are to gank. And
hmm
then 2 is enemy laners power spikes.
So
Um,
with the knowledge you have playing mid with Jace especially,
yeah.
I feel like Jason's already brought on a pretty similar level early game. What champs did you look for and go, no, I probably shouldn't go all in level 1 or 2,
Aesol is the
or
main
to
champion that
try?
I couldn't all in, and then Zoe was the one where I was like scared of it. And then there's obviously like sometimes people play something like Riven mid, like Riven Wool, but that's a pretty rare
hmm
thing picked. Right now, I'll think about the most meta champions because that's so like Kassadin. I assume you could beat all in level 1.
hmm
Orianna, I assume you definitely could beat all in level 1. Syndra can beat all in level
hmm
1. Echo could beat level 1. Like if you're, I'm thinking of if you're straight up just like how you were with the Aesol right now, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Aesol you would lose. Those are the most meta things. Rise, I have no idea because he's new. So that's something to test. If you're against a
It's
Rise,
probably a lose. It's probably a lose if he's new, but we'll see.
if he's new, well, yeah. I mean, that is he seems to be pretty strong. I haven't even played the game yet, so we'll see.
I haven't either.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when it comes down to those things, a lot of times you have to test them. But the problem with testing these things is then it comes down to nuance things because, for example, I'll all in Yone is like a hard one to all in. For example, I'll all in a
For
Yone
sure.
as Jace. I'll kill Yone, but then the next game I'll all in him. I won't kill him. The reason I won't kill him one time, but I'll kill him the other time, is because he might have taken bone plating one time and not the other time. Because bone plating,
The players is better.
yeah, like that's going to be better in an all in, but second win's going to be better if I'm poking them a lot. And so then I have to
Yeah.
pay attention to the runes, or even a rune like grasp versus like a lethal tempo. Like for example, I can win the all in against Yone for the first like 60% of the health, but the last 30% of the health he has lethal tempo fully stacked, and so I can no longer win it. And so it's like understanding the nuances of the runes even, which is why even for Jace versus Zoe, yeah, they're relatively similar, but Jace can completely fuck Kassadin, but Zoe can't because Zoe's AP and casting is his AP
hmm
shield. So yes, you'll still win it, but you're not going to win it nearly as hard. So that's why it really is. And the good thing is, first month of the season, you're not going to reach your peak anyway because like
Yeah.
first month of the season, the sovereigns drop down to diamond and emerald and whatever. So like you're not going to just instantly climb up. So that's the best time to just test all these things because like you really
Yeah.
don't care if you win that game because at the end of the day, you're going to get to roughly the same rank, and then the last month and a half of the season, that's when you're really climbing. So yeah, that's basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Do you think it takes knowing little details like um, the AP shield, and that's why Jace is good in the matchup versus Zoe against was it Catherine?
Yeah.
Um, do you think it takes knowing little details like that to make it to something like Challenger and Sovereign, or do you
Sort
think
of.
you can have
So
good macro fundamentals
yeah.
across general knowledge of champs and still
So
get there?
basically, you don't need to be perfect in understanding of how every champion works. I don't understand how every champion works perfectly. Like, for example, the casted and passive, there may be a different champion passive who I don't understand that well because I don't play them or they're less meta. So no, you don't need to understand all those niches. What I will say is every small detail adds some amount of percentage to your win rate. It might be 0.001 because you might only win 1 in every 1,000 games from that specific knowledge, or you may even never actually win a game off that. It may never actually change the outcome,
You
but
may win a
every
fight
little
because
small
of it.
amount. What's up?
So you may win a fight because of it, and that
Exactly.
could
And
lead to
sometimes
something.
that
Yeah.
is what wins you or loses you a game, which is why every little amount of knowledge is what matters. But obviously, there's certain points of knowledge that matter more. So yes, your understanding of when to roam or something that's recreatable every game, that's going to increase your percentage of winning by a lot larger amount. And so whatever rank you've currently reached, every time you make a different improvement, that makes you slightly better. So some people are really, really good at one champion, and their knowledge of that champion is what makes them good. That's why usually, as a general rule of thumb, one tricks fucking suck at Wild Rift, but they're really, really hard to beat. Like, any really good one trick in Sovereign is probably really dumb compared to me in terms of the game, because even though I have played a bunch of some champions, I've also reached Sovereign on many different champions in different seasons and different roles. Whereas they know how Yone does in every single matchup on every single timer on every single everything, but they don't necessarily know the more general outlook of the game. So it completely depends on, like, again, I need more general knowledge because, again, even like this season, I didn't play any Jace this season. I didn't play a lot of my mains. I started playing completely different champions like Orianna, Syndra, Echo, whatever. And so then I still climbed with 60% win rate on all those champions, but because of that general knowledge. So basically, I think you kind of get the point, even though I was kind of rambling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's important, but it's not the end all be all.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, Sovereign's not as hard as it seems, and also it depends a lot on playing. Obviously, if you have kids and you're busy, it's going to be a little harder.
I have kids, but I have a pretty flexible job, and I have a pretty open amount of time after they go to bed.
Gotcha. So yeah, obviously the
I
time
played
invested helps.
500. How many games I played this season? Like 300 something, 400 something.
Yeah, it took me 490 games this season to get Sovereign. So
Dang.
that's a
Okay,
rough.
and that's with a 60% win rate.
No, that was, I think, 58 at that time. Because
Okay.
my win rate at the end of the season is 57. 60% was for those main champions, but then I play some other champions, which is lower. So 57 was the overall, and 58 to get 490. And I started at Diamond 4 because I reset from Sovereign. So for you, it might be 550 to 600 at that point. So that's always, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so then the other thing is understand. We said the enemy laner spikes. Actually, we wrote that already. So timing, recalls better. So like, be okay with giving up a little, be stronger on more important timers. Does it make sense when I say it like that? Okay. Other thing is recall about 30 seconds for objective if needed. Recall after a successful roam, almost always. And what I did like about your roam is that you took the wave after your roam. You didn't leave immediately. So keep doing that, but then recall after rather than just going straight back to mid most of the time, because it's literally the same.
It took like the bottom lane after I roamed.
Yeah, that's really good.
So
like,
my thought there is I'm down here, especially if I get a kill or two, I'll probably leave it for
No,
whoever.
if you get the killer 2, you should 100% go even further, probably even take plates. You should take as much as you can out of your roam. Because the problem is going back to mid takes 15 seconds. So why would we go back? Like, we need to get as much value out of the time we invested into this as possible for the most part. Obviously, if you see a Tristana on your turret and you know you don't want to lose first turret, that's different, right? But like, generally.
And it's funny that you say that because I've made a point, like if I roam and don't get a kill, I'm taking the wave because I came here for something.
That is kind of a sunken cost fallacy that I don't like when people do that.
Okay.
I don't mind you taking the wave when you're there if it's just convenient, but it shouldn't be because I'm there I need to like get something out of it. You have to understand also when to cut your losses. So say that like you at that point you realize that you need to go back to lane now because there's something urgent, then you shouldn't. But yeah, if you have nothing else to do at that time, it's fine to waste the additional 5 seconds to get the wave when you're there. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, what are the other things we spoke about? Like roaming timers was recall
I
timers.
would say roaming and doing a better job of, I think hovering was a good way that you put it.
Yeah.
Doing a better
So
job of hovering and not committing to a roam that doesn't need that it's not going to result in anything.
So basically, yeah, don't commit unless certain factors are present, and then the next one will write what the factors are. So main things look for when deciding on whether or not to continue the roam. So first thing is jungle pathing. So both, is my jungle there, and do I know if their jungle's there or not? Second is wave states. Stacked wave, good to dive on, for example. Or maybe there's a big wave that's going under your turret, and you know that the enemy are going to over-aggress, whatever it is, right? But generally that. Obviously, health bars, very straightforward. Teammate location, multiple times you roamed when your teammates were in spawn, which doesn't do as much. Gank setup, just, CC, stuff like that. Ease of killing enemy champion, which is like spells like flash, or some champs that
Is there a
have.
global ping when the champ flashes, or does that just
No, your
rely
teammate
on your
has to
team
do it,
pinging it?
which is why
Okay.
you won't always know. But no, your teammate has to do it.
And is there a way to check whose ult is up in game?
You can check your teammates, but not your opponents.
You
You know
can
how
you
to
can
check your
tap your
teammates?
teammates' names, right?
The
I
green
know,
thing by their names.
but does that show during the game itself?
Yeah. So what this is
Because this
here
is the
will show up in
replay.
your teammates will show up in the top left right here, and the circles will be there.
I don't think I've ever even noticed the circles. That's really good to know.
Yeah, those should be there. If they're not, it's a setting, and maybe you have to turn a setting on. But I'm pretty sure they're just there. If they're not, like if you go into a game,
Okay.
you realize they're not there, message me, and then I'll try to find the setting.
Okay.
But yeah. So I think those are the main things I would say for deciding on whether or not to gank. Obviously, you understand the, like, I'll write it, but it's pretty straightforward. Push wave before roaming. You're doing this fine, but just that's something to make sure you keep in mind. Yeah, I would say it's definitely just generally like have a plan, develop a plan like before, develop a plan for certain timers, which another timer then is like the dragon. So second drag is a good time to come back. If we go opposite side, when behind, does that make sense? I typed that weirdly, but
Yeah, if you're behind recall and you can push other side.
yeah, most of the time. So the other thing then is if we lost our mid turret, we can sometimes leave the wave and roam until enemy go on wave, because again, certain comeback timers, we make the more risky plays or that type of thing. I mean, these should be the main things, because again, the first thing is your lane phase. You need to understand the goal of the enemy laner, which generally is, again, mostly this point here. If you understand the goal of the enemy laner, that's going to allow you to get a lot more just kind of knowledge on how different matches work. And again, one, you can message me anytime you are confused about certain enemy champions' fire spikes. Some I know better than others, but you also just test them again. Just try to think like what ability really is dangerous to me, those types of things. And then when it comes to, again, understanding those certain recalls, just like I'll just also just say generally recall more often. Depends on the situation, but generally want to be recalling more often, recalling on certain timers, giving up something to be stronger later, as we said in the second point. And then the last thing is, yeah, deciding on the roams, which comes down to things like all the different things we mentioned here. And just general better planning means they're going to understand like what parts of the game actually matter. I think that's the main things we talked about. Do you have any other questions or anything?
I have a question about last hitting. So I've definitely that was one of the things we went over last time. I made a focus, and I think that helped a lot in terms of where I was at in being ahead or behind in gold.
Yep.
Do you think? And I always feel like mid game is where it gets kind of sloppy in last hitting. Do
Yep.
you think constantly throughout the game, if you're walking up to a wave, every single minion's going to be last hit?
No, the later in the game I go, the less last hitting matters, because my abilities do more damage, so they usually one-shot the wave at that point, right?
Sure.
So
But that's
early
what I'm saying. You
game,
need to do last hit all of them because it's just going to one shot them.
yeah. So it's not really something to think about.
But
So it's really the early game where it's like something that's somewhat difficult. And it just becomes natural the more you play your champ. Like when I play any champ that I've played a lot of recently, like I've played a lot of Orianna, I know exactly how much my auto is going to do. I know how much my abilities do, so I very rarely miss a last hit. But if I go and play a champion I've not played recently, like I've not really played Vex much recently, all of
Mhm.
a sudden I'm missing some more. So that's more of a just feeling kind of, there's not a lot that a specific person can give you advice on. It's more just the more you focus on it, the more you get the feel of your champ. Like I said, I didn't notice you fucking up a bunch of last hits, for example, in these games. It
I
seemed like
just
you,
I just noticed sometimes I get a little sloppy and I'm like, wow, that was 200 gold.
that happens to all
Or
of
that
us. I mean, it's
or
just, it
that
is
yeah,
what it is.
that was 60 gold that I missed up, and that happens 3 times, and then you're down half an item or something.
Yeah, and that's definitely more of a focus thing it's than any like specific, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, because I always compare myself to the best person in the lobby every game and on the enemy team or my team, and I go, how the heck did they get so much gold with 2 kills?
Yeah, that's the
And I
other
just
thing is play the
noticed
same into good players rather than
I'll
switching how
definitely
you
do
would
that.
play, right? And then learn from it.
Do you think I played too passive at all?
No, I think it was fine. Again, really, like these were the issues I saw. I was genuinely watching your gameplay and I thought like in a lot of those scenarios I would do the exact same thing, or your mechanics on Zoe are equivalent to how I would play a champion I'm really good at. Basically, I would say obviously my understanding of maybe like Jace is better, but like in terms of any champion that I'm good at but not like a god at, like Orianna, Cinder, whatever, who I've played hundreds of games of,
Mhm.
that there's like that equivalence. And in terms of when you're aggressive, when you're going in for stuff, your timing on that type of stuff, I don't really see a lot of issues on that. Maybe if I was a Zoe one trick, I'd be able to point out more really specific things, but that's really the type of thing that you just figure out with time. So I think your aggression
Yeah,
and passivity for the most part was fine. Obviously you
yeah.
were too aggressive in that one time when you tried to all in ace
No,
on level
yeah,
one.
for sure.
But yeah.
Well, cool. If you if you do end up going back and looking at the first round we did together and those videos, I watched one of them again yesterday whenever I uploaded these videos.
Yeah.
It's it's rough. I was watching them going, "What the heck am I doing? This is horrible."
Well, it's good we made improvements then.
Yeah. So, give you your flowers. You did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, you did a lot putting effort into it too, so it's definitely good to see. And yeah, we do see a lot of improvement. So yeah, if there's no other questions, then I'll see you later.
Nope, that's all it for me. Thanks, man.